So I have to walk a mile to get back.
I got camping chair. No, I understand that.
I got burned so much out photographing that they had to cut some of this ear off. I got cancer in my ear.
Oh.
Being a photographer is tough business, man. Well, you're letting go of your society concerns. You really gotta let go of your family, your work, the whole damn shit, because you're engaging a whole visual thing, a spiritual thing. You know, I think being the age that I was during the decade of the 30s, that with this big depression and seeing people, I was 1/3 of all the people who wanted jobs were unemployed, and there was a lot of hardship. You can't do that if you're still hanging on to all these goddamn problems that we're always dealing with. So letting go is the first thing you got to do. And be that person that's just hanging out and letting stuff come to you, almost in a spiritual way. And my mother, on June 10th, 1937, I was just 13 years old or something like that. She bought me this camera, and I still got it. And I took pictures. I took pictures with it. I put some film in the back of it. You know, I was an only child. I didn't have any brothers or sisters, and I guess I always felt that like I had to prove something to myself. You're in art photography, you're using what's here on the earth, but it becomes a different way of seeing it. It becomes a spiritual thing. And you're looking at rocks and hoping that the shapes and forms and what's happening visually and to a spiritual being that creates something that goes way beyond the physical fact of it being rock or whatever you see at point levels. So you're trying to take people, escort them beyond the physical world into another world. Call it spiritual, call it art, call it whatever you want. But the goal is to take the viewer beyond the physical thing that you're looking at. If you photograph rocks and all the only level at which you see them is still a rock is a rock, still a rock, and that's, don't tell me it's anything but a rock, then you're not letting go enough to get into this other world we're trying to achieve with art photography. White talked about this all the time. He and Ansa were good buddies, but Ansa would never talk like that. He used to get mad at Win Bullock because Win was, if you ever read Win's stuff, he's all over the place trying to get at this other level I'm talking about. And Ansa just never felt comfortable talking about it. He was not a spiritual person. He would say it. I'm not into that spiritual stuff. I'm not into anything. But the way Ansel photographed, it reached that other level without him even talking about it or admitting it even. The beautiful clouds that he did were still just beautiful clouds. He never invited people to discuss it and view it as anything beyond just the physical fact that it was, you know what I mean? to try to stand out. I had no brothers or sisters and no mother in the house. My aunt and I she was good to me, but she wasn't like having a mother. So what else did I have? I could be a good student and stand out that way. I didn't tell you that I bought as soon as I met her at Weston, I knew I had to have an 8x10, and I bought an 8x10 view camera. For 15 years, that was my camera. I got a whole stack of 8x10 negatives like that around. I got so much work to do, printing these things, and I've done 2 books. I want to do a 3rd one if I can. And I got 12,000 negatives that I've got. 1956 to 60, the end of the decade, I met Dorothea Lange up in Berkeley. She was married to Paul Taylor, Professor Paul Taylor in economics. Paul was the chairman of my thesis committee for my master's. I got a degree in economics, not photography, because I was raised during the Depression. I wanted to solve the damn Depression stuff. Minor White, I met him at the end of the decade. I met him in Long Beach where he gave a workshop. And I remember he had his picture that he put up. And he and Asa were just totally good friends, but totally different kind of people in photography. Minor put this picture up for the class to look at down in Long Beach where I studied with him. He says, engage the photograph. You don't just talk about composition. You let this get into your psyche, and it was wonderful. Hey, there's another way of looking at life, whether you're photographing or not. There's another way of being with this other dimension, and I kind of dug that idea. The problem we have with photography is that they keep making the lenses sharper and sharper, and even with computers you can push a button and make it sharper than sharp, edge sharp, which I love, but that creates a higher definition of what the physical thing is, yet you're trying to get away from that as you view the photograph and enjoy the photograph. Portrait photographer photographs a person. It's very clear that his objective is to take you beyond just the pimples and the realities of the face. Everybody has a spiritual dimension to them, and the photographer when he makes portraits, tries to take you into that other level of understanding this person. I like to go to places that have a lot of high concentration of things, so you can wander around and just stuff just pops out. That's why I love Point Lobos. Every time I go, it's different. The light's different, the tide's different, the feeling is different. But there's always stuff there. But when you first walk down on that beach, oh Christ, where do I go this time? What am I going to see? So you have to let go and just hope that it comes to it. It's really a combination. I've seen photographs that come alive simply in the dark. But you really need to start with something out there in the field. You have to have something to begin with. That might be entirely it right there, what you see and capture. But the dark room or the computer gives you a lot of latitude and dimension to add to what you see. So every step along the way can be a creative part of the process. So you don't win every time you trip the shutter. You gotta love what you're doing and repeat it even if it doesn't win every time. Is that right? I've known people who got so much shutteria they just gave it up. The hell with it. But if you love it and it's in you, you just, that's part of what you do. You miss a bunch and a small percent or just, yeah. Yeah, that's what you're after. That's what you're after is the winner. And the rest of it is just training, practice. And if you don't get out there and shoot and miss a bunch, you're not practicing and getting in the swing of it.
See you soon. Yeah.
They're here for
Silky
you.
Lates. You ever heard of her?
Silky lace?
She was born in Germany, but she's been here for
Huh.
20 years or so. She's a photographer.
Oh, no, I don't remember meeting her.
If I was 20 years younger, I'd marry her. This doesn't mean anything to you guys, but you asked me a question. Life is more than just a piece of film or a camera. It's the totality of stuff. But photography that's why I'm here.